I want to welcome everybody today for, I think it's our 54th meeting in 2.5 years, which is amazing. We are going to have Eli Pollard, who is the CEO of the World Parkinson's Congress, talk to us about what to expect, how you can get involved. And before that, I'm going to show a couple of slides that I took in Kyoto 3 years ago. So Ashlyn, can we forward it to the next slide? So this was from the opening. You can go ahead and play this. Most of these people have Parkinson's. They were part of the opening presentation. And you can see Naomi there right in front, our friend Naomi. And it's interesting, each Congress has it tries to bring in the culture of the city where we're having the meetings. So this was using taiko drummers, and it was a lot of fun. This is something that you can participate in. There's a singing group, choir, I believe, for the Congress. Okay, let's move forward. And next. So this is me and Melissa, I can't remember her last name, from Kentucky. And we are in front of the exhibit with all of the cranes that Naomi had and Clara Puj had put together. This was amazing. It was so well received. Next one. And here we are. Naomi is the only other person shorter than me at the Congress, I think. And she was the brainchild behind this. And we have Parky and we have Clara on the far right, Farrell on the far left, and Naomi's husband behind her. Okay, next one. And this is the only Congress where people with Parkinson's are invited to participate on equal footing with researchers, and I actually submitted a poster, which was kind of fun. I'd never done anything like this before. Next one. And this was from one of the speeches, the talks that I went to, and anybody can go to any of the programs. It's really an amazing experience. So let's go on. I think we can turn the slides off, and let me introduce Eli real quickly. I love this quote from Eli. She says, "Working in the Parkinson's community since 2004, I am dedicated to bringing the community together and finding ways to engage and empower those living with Parkinson's, as well as showing the researchers and clinicians that by listening to people with Parkinson's, they can actually do their jobs better." And that's what we are all about, Twitchie women. We want to make sure that the doctors and researchers are hearing us. And so I want to welcome Eli. I'm going to let her tell her story, and rather than me reading this whole bio. So welcome, and I ask you to put your questions in the chat for now. We will open it up later to a Q&A, but Eli, take it away.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Hi, everyone. So I am Eli, and I'm very casually dressed on my Sunday tank top here in a very hot Brooklyn. So this is forgive me for not coming in more formally dressed, but I feel like you understand on a hot day with no air conditioning what happens. Better to sit outside in a comfortable top. Thank you so much, Sharon. I know we've tried a couple times to organize an opportunity for me to come and speak to all of your followers on Twitchie Women, and it didn't quite work in the past, but maybe the timing is perfect now. Since the World Parkinson Congress is almost 1 year, taking place 1 year from now, July 4th to 7th in 2023 in Barcelona, Spain. It was supposed to take place this year. We pushed it back a year due to COVID and some other issues. And so we are now in sort of the counting down to July of next year. And I will, for sure, if you have any questions, just pop them in the chat. I'm happy to be stopped at any time and answer questions. I'll just say a little bit about myself and about the World Parkinson Coalition, which is the organization that hosts the World Parkinson Congresses. The coalition was designed in 2004 with the sole purpose of hosting a World Parkinson Congress. And what sets the World Parkinson Congress apart from other meetings on Parkinson's, and especially back in 2006 when we had the first Congress, is that it is the only totally inclusive international Congress of its kind in Parkinson's. And in fact, there are many other diseases that advocates in other disease spaces that have contacted me to ask how we've made it happen with the WPC, because it's so unusual to be so incredibly inclusive. And it was designed this way from the very beginning. And our founder, a gentleman named Dr. Stanley Fawn, was at Columbia University, and I worked together with a number of really incredible leaders in the space to design a meeting that was interesting and engaging and exciting for all different stakeholders in the Parkinson's community. So we had basic science sessions, clinical research sessions, clinical comprehensive care sessions on treatment options, as well as advocacy and other topics. We designed a program that is meant to be engaging for everyone. That's not an easy task. It takes a lot of experts and time and thought that goes into that. But the program will take place over 4 days. There will be a number of different kinds of sessions, but also not only are there different kinds of sessions, the basic science, clinical research, care, but there are different formats where you can learn. So there are some sessions that are delivered in large lecture halls where you can go up to a microphone and ask a question or submit a question through an app. There are sessions that are in what we call our workshops. So it's maybe 150 people to 200 people. They're slightly smaller crowds, and there's more opportunity for dialogue and discourse with the panelists. And then we have sessions, we call them our roundtables, where we take experts from those larger sessions and we pull them into these very small, intimate roundtable discussions with just 12 people. So you might watch someone give a plenary lecture on genetics, and then you might follow that person and say, I want to hear that person speak again. And then you might see that lecture again in a workshop where you can ask more questions. And then you might say, I have more questions for that person. I'm going to follow them into the round table. I'm going to sit down with them at a table for 90 minutes and just get all my questions answered. So that sort of opportunity to really engage with experts is one of the things that we think is so special about the World Parkinson Congress. You don't see that at a lot of congresses. And it didn't happen in the very first Congress that we had in 2006. It came through the evolution of the design of the meeting as we fine-tuned it and figured out where we were falling short and listened to feedback. People really wanted to be able to ask more questions. So we tried to figure out over the years, how do we create more space and more opportunities for there to be this cross-pollination? We thought it was really important for basic scientists who so rarely, we feel, so rarely get to interact directly with people with Parkinson's. We found it really impactful, and we heard from basic scientists over and over again who said, wow, the World Parkinson Congress was amazing. I never get to talk to people with Parkinson's, or maybe I've even never met a person with Parkinson's. So we really wanted to maximize our time together and create opportunities where people really do cross paths and get to hear from each other and learn from each other. It's not this one-way learning opportunity. It really is collaborative learning, and scientists often walk away hugely impacted by their experience at the WPC. And it's really great when we get a lot of younger researchers and clinicians who come as fellows in their, maybe mid to late 20s. They then sort of drink the Kool-Aid and they come with us for the rest of their career. So they understand the impact and how it has changed them, and how talking to people with Parkinson's and family members has impacted how they think about their research and how they treat and or treating people with Parkinson's. So the Congress has been designed from the very beginning to be incredibly interactive. So that is everyone, including people with Parkinson's and care partners. We think the family members and care partners are crucial to this entire process as well. So we make space and invite family members and care partners as well to be a part of the Congress. And so in addition, and I'll just put this out there, in addition to the core sort of scientific program, which is really at the heart of what we do. We have to have a really high level scientific program in order to attract world-renowned, scientists and clinical researchers, or they won't invest the time and money to come. So that's always been at the heart of us, of our planning, is a really dynamic, robust, forward-thinking program. But we also have stuff that goes all the way around the program. And it's like Sharon used the example of abstracts and her poster. Like many other scientific meetings, anyone can submit. It's crucial to our Congress that we have these posters and abstracts submitted, because a lot of times for junior scientists and researchers, it's the first time they present the projects that they're working on and they get feedback from other people. But what we did many years ago was we expanded our abstracts to include, like what Sharon mentioned, is this Living with Parkinson's section. because we think not only should the scientists and clinical researchers be talking about their work, we think advocates should also be talking about their work and telling the scientists what they're doing, because it's, again, a two-way learning process. And so we do get a lot of abstracts submitted from advocacy groups, from individuals who are doing interesting projects, because we feel like if you're doing something that's innovative and interesting in, La Jolla, and it could be copied and implemented in Glasgow, in Scotland, why would you have them recreate the wheel? Why don't you share that information with each other? And so we really try to make sure the voice of people living with Parkinson's and care partners is heard in every section of the Congress. So there's the poster abstracts. There's also a section we call Wellness Way, and under Wellness Way, a couple of spaces exist. One of them is it's our renewal room. We actually are now open for applications for people to apply to teach classes in the renewal room. The renewal room is very much a space for movement and physical movement and rehabilitation and wellness. So we have people teaching dance classes, yoga classes, Tai Chi, Qigong, vocal training, all sorts of sort of movement of all different muscles in the body. And so that space is open every day during the Congress. So it's kind of fun if someone goes to a scientific session on exercise and what exercise does to the brain, then they can get up from that session and they can go to the renewal room and actually do some exercise and get some fitness. And then they can go to the exhibit hall and read posters about exercise and the research going on. So you really can find something you're quite interested in, and you can track it across the Congress if that's something you really want to understand, or you can just go in and participate in all sorts of random things and just absorb all the information and then go home and sort of digest it afterward and share what you've learned. So the renewal room, and another space under Wellness Way umbrella is our care partner lounge. We do have a lot of family members and care partners and care advocates who come to the Congress. And we learned over the years that they really needed their own space, not just a session where they could go and learn, and they needed a space. We actually have a whole lounge that has a curriculum designed by care partners and healthcare professionals, targeted at care partners and health professionals. So if you come to the Congress as a person with Parkinson's and your partner or spouse or family member comes with you, they can have something really meaningful for them as well. And they can go and participate in that room, and they can go to any session, but they might want to spend more time in that room connecting with other people in the care space. So it is a Congress. Again, we design it. We take the hardest route possible to try and design a Congress that is something for everyone. We expect around 5,000 people to attend the Congress. It is for 4 days. It's from a Tuesday to a Friday, but we already know a lot of organizations are planning to come in the weekend before and have trainings and meetings and gather for a variety of things. So it ends up, for many people, they make it into a holiday and a vacation as well as a learning opportunity. Then they'll often be there for a week or even longer to take advantage of this very unique opportunity. It only happens once every 3 years, this time 4, that the whole community comes together. Because we're in Barcelona, we will also have a track in Spanish every afternoon. And we will also do simultaneous interpretation for the morning sessions that will be delivered only in English. So even if someone only speaks Spanish, they can come to the Congress and have something educational to listen to or participate in, really from 8 in the morning until 6 p.m. So there's no shortage of opportunities for Spanish speakers as well. So I'm going to stop there, Sharon, and see if there are any questions, or if not, I can talk about other ways to sort of get involved, but I'm happy to take questions.
Okay. I guess the easiest way is just to raise your hand. You can do it, where we go? There's under reactions, down below, there's a raise hand option. Okay, Amy, go ahead.
Hi, Eli. How much does it cost to register for the conference?
So we're putting the details on the website shortly. For a person with Parkinson's, it's $400. There are travel grants that we offer to people who need travel support, but as you can imagine, we get probably 400 or 500 requests for support. So we ask people to search for ways to raise funds for themselves to travel, and that we can supplement their travel support. So we can't scholarship everyone 100%. So we try to encourage people to do fundraisers and or find other funding opportunities. And then if they apply to us to say, I've been able to raise 75% of my funds, but I just can't quite make it work. I need a little more and then apply for travel support. So we do have travel grant applications. They will be opening this fall, and it's for people with Parkinson's as well as junior researchers and junior clinicians. And then we have some travel grants for people in emerging parts of the world or developing countries that may not fall into those other categories. But if you're a doctor in a place where there's only one movement disorder doctor for a whole city or community, we'd also like to help support those clinicians to participate.
What about housing? Is that a separate cost?
Housing is a separate cost.
Yeah.
So the three big costs, just to answer the question, the three big costs will be your housing, your flight, and registration, and then meals. So I guess 4 costs would fall into those categories.
Okay, let me just interject, Susan, before you talk. We are going to be offering scholarships, and I want to thank Laura Russell and Ethel Meyer and Carol Klupney and others who have donated. Laura was actually the impetus for this because she gave us a lead gift through from her book, Exquisite Warriors, which quite a few of us were featured in, and to do something for women with Parkinson's. So we are offering registration for first-timers to the conference. We will pay the $400. There will be an application process. There are strings attached, but we hope that if you are joining us for the first time at the Congress, you will fill out an application. And right now we have enough money, I think, to cover 13 or 14 scholarships, which is pretty amazing. So thank you, everyone who donated to that. And with that, I will call on Susan.
A couple of questions about the accommodations. You're at a convention center, so where we are does not have accommodations. Do you have transportation and special hotel arrangements?
We do, Susan. Thanks for that question. All the hotels, we've booked room blocks in hotels. The hotel room blocks will open the same day registration opens, which is on October 3rd. And we'll be putting a map with details on the website soon. We've selected predominantly hotels that are within walking distance of the convention center. So that could be 1 block up to 4 or 5 blocks. So depending on your ability for movement and walking, the closer ones might be preferred. And the hotels obviously do range in cost, and so people will have a chance to look at distance and cost to make a determination where works best for them. And typically in Europe and hotels we've booked, every breakfast will be included in all of those hotels, and lunch will be served at the convention center in a lunch box, which is included in the registration cost. So you will get lunch every day that you've registered for the days you've registered, and breakfast comes with the hotel. So your main meal that you have to pay for outside of that would be dinner each day.
Laura, unmute yourself, please.
I do that every time. Hi, Ellie, I'm glad you're here. I have a question about the posters for people with Parkinson's, and what kind of topics in the past have been presented as, I think you called it, living with Parkinson's topics?
Yeah, can I, if it's okay, I'll share my screen for a second and I'll show you all the topics, and then I can give a little bit of an elaboration on that.
Great.
A second. Share. Close that. Sorry, I'm on the other page. Let me go to the Congress page. So this is the Congress page, which is WPC2023.org. And if you go under program, there are abstracts here, and under call for abstracts, you can get to this page. It has information about all the topics that fall under the categories. So typical sort of basic science categories, clinical science, and then care. There's all sorts of stuff around care. So whether it's alternative and complementary therapies, a disability, a partnership in decision making, and then just to jump here, the living with Parkinson's is what a lot of advocates focus on. So they're public education or programs, advocacy, living well with PD, which is sort of broad and it's specifically designed to be broad. And then here are opportunities on how people can individually impact and advance research. And then the other. So we don't want to limit people, particularly because this category can be quite unique. But what I have seen, I'll stop sharing. What I have seen is groups do some pretty cool stuff. There was one group in, can't remember the city, somewhere in Scotland, a small city in Scotland that, for example, was lacking a speech language pathologist in their town or in their city. And yet they had a desperate need to have a speech language pathology services for the community of people living with Parkinson's. So they actually collaborated with their local healthcare system, and they worked with someone else in the community to get funding. And they started to bring sort of a traveling speech language pathologist that they would come to their town once a week and have appointments all booked throughout that day. And so it was a very innovative way. They identified a need, they found this gap, and they went about gathering the information they needed, and they outlined that in a poster, which was pretty wonderful because it's an example of how what they did was not terribly complex, but they did have a process about how they did it. And other people in other communities were able to see that and take that information and say, that's something I think we could actually do in our town if we follow the same, methods and collect the same data and follow the same path. So that's just one example, but we get all sorts of abstracts, and you can actually look at them on that section of the website where I directed you. You can actually download digital versions of all of the abstracts for the past 3 Congresses, because we do a digital book of the abstracts. And we, a lot of scientific Congresses print abstracts in books that are printed books or that are online, but they're behind a paywall. And we made decisions a number of years ago where we said, first of all, we don't want to kill any more trees, so we're going to stop printing these books because they just get recycled and thrown out. And 2, we don't want our scientific information to be behind a paywall. So we went the extra mile, and we work with a publisher that puts our digital book on their website indefinitely. So they will never take it down. You can still download the abstract books from 2013, 2016, 2019, and people are still downloading those, partly to get examples of sort of what abstracts look like. But that may also give you some information if you want to look at some of those past ones to see how people sort of summarize their projects in the living with Parkinson's category. That was a lot of information.
We will be submitting at least one. We're going to submit one on our peer-to-peer mentoring project, and we may, we recently started a Twitchies Without Partners chat group, and we've had 3 meetings so far, and that has been wonderful. So we maybe we'll do something on, specialized chat groups for Parkinson's.
That's wonderful, Sharon. I love that.
So, okay, next is Terry Frank.
Hey, everybody. I don't come often, so I'll just say that out there, but thank you for having me today to join you. I take care of my elderly father, so it's difficult. Nonetheless, as far as the Congress, you talked about the renewal room, and I find that when I have my anxiety, which is often, if I play my flute, it helps me kind of breathe, relax. So I would like to coordinate, or I would like to suggest somebody coordinate a musician kind of group that would get together there maybe and talk about music and maybe play our instruments together.
Well, you just opened up the whole next step, which is wonderful. Thank you, Terry. So we do believe that art and music and creativity is really incredibly impactful in individual wellness. And so we do coordinate a lot of opportunities for music. So I'll just give a little bit of a rundown on how we incorporate music into the Congress. There are 3 sort of open, bigger programs. One is we have a choir. We have an international choir. It's led by an amazing choir director named Judy Spencer, who's based up in the Seattle area. And we actually do monthly or bi-monthly sing-alongs with Judy on Zoom. We have a number of people who come to that. Judy also coordinates with choir people who want to participate in the choir. She will coordinate practice runs through YouTube and digital practice runs. And anyone who wants to be in the choir and sing at the Congress can participate with Judy. So this is the choir. Participate with Judy in singing songs. The choir performs at the opening ceremony. So like that video that Sharon showed with the dancers with Pamela Quinn, Judy also does a whole choir performance at the opening ceremony. That's usually what opens the opening ceremony. And I'll just back up one step, because the song that we sing at the opening ceremony comes out of our, what we call our song competition. So our song competition is actually open right now, welcoming applications from international applicants. The song competition can be a song that someone has written the music and the lyrics for completely from scratch, or it could be perhaps another song that was written, but lyrics were edited to accommodate and create lyrics that are appropriate for a song for the World Parkinson Congress. We do sing those songs at the opening ceremony. And then to your comment exactly, Terry, about music, Judy also helps us coordinate. Judy also helps us coordinate what we call as our music spot. So we have a spot at the Congress where we do have musicians who are interested in performing. And it's usually happens sort of over the lunch hour or over the coffee break so that people don't have to miss a session. So we do have music performances. And then we also have, I was just thinking about this. We also have a meditation and mindfulness room. It might be interesting to have somebody, if you actually had a flute and you were there, to actually perhaps at one of those mindfulness meditation sessions, actually have someone maybe playing the flute. A lot of opportunities for music. We do believe music is really important, not just singing or playing instruments, but listening to it and participating in it in wellness. So we try to incorporate it in many places. And that's the same with arts and creativity. We have and one of those includes the Tulip Project, which I'll talk about at some point in this hour. But we do have a few artists that we're already working with who are going to be doing, and there are artists who all live with Parkinson's. So we already have art displays that are sort of underway to be displayed at the Congress, because we also think viewing art and participating in artistic endeavors is really important for the mind and the soul, and just bringing joy to people through creativity.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Nobody? Okay.
I see that Amy just said DBS is a great topic. It definitely, DBS will be covered at the Congress in all sorts of ways, both from the scientist perspective, the surgeon perspective, and the person living with Parkinson's perspective. So there'll be lots of different opportunities to hear about DBS if you're considering it, or to hear about it if you've already had it. We definitely will cover DBS, that's for sure.
Okay, Angela. Unmute yourself, please.
I have a very quick question. So any recommendations as to the hotels, the best ones for the price? Having never been there before.
Well, what I would say is in the next probably week, we'll be putting all of the hotel information up with the prices and the distance and a map. So my recommendation is that you would just look at that and decide for yourself sort of what is your price range, and then look at those hotels and then figure out which hotels are of greatest interest to you. And then when we open the hotels on October 3rd, if you have one you're really committed to and interested in, that you would want to go ahead and book a space in there just as soon as you can. We probably are going to have 18 or 19 hotels with rooms to accommodate all of our delegates. So you have a lot of choices, and I think you just have to decide for yourself. They're all good hotels. They're all decent. They're all almost all right in walking distance. So.
And then one last question is it always in Barcelona, the conference, or does it move around the world?
It moves around the world. So a little history on the locations is the first one was in 2006 in Washington, D.C., 2010 in Glasgow, Scotland, 2013 in Montreal, 2016 in Portland, Oregon, 2019 in Kyoto, Japan, 2023 in Spain. So you can see it's sort of rotating around the world, right? So Scotland, Montreal, Portland, Japan, now Spain. So in 2026, pending global pandemics in the world, the 2026, it will come back to the Americas, most likely in the US, maybe Canada, in 2026.
Thank you very much.
Judith. Unmute, please.
Yeah,
About the hotels, when you say you block off the rooms for them, do you block off just for the 3rd through the 7th, whatever the dates are, or do you extend it so that we can get there maybe a day or two early and be prepared, and or maybe stay a day or two after and see the sites?
We do. It'll extend it probably three days on either side of the Congress, and we do encourage people to come in a couple of days early if they can financially manage that, and with logistics and jobs and life if they can manage it, just because of jet lag. You know, we do recognize, especially if you're calling from North America, you're 6 to 9 hours behind Spain. When you fly, you have to adjust your medications, you have to get on a good sleep schedule. So we do know a lot of people plan to take a couple of vacation days before if they're still working, and fly in even on like the Friday before, so they can really take the time to rest and adjust. I will say that it's a really exciting Congress. I mean, Sharon can tell you more about this than me as a participant, but I find that people are often so excited when they get there that the first day they just go, and they don't properly rest. And so we do a lot of prep ahead of time to encourage people to take the time to rest, take the time to make sure you're drinking water, take the time that you don't stay up too late, because we find that people get so excited. They go on the first day or 2 or 3, and by Friday, they're just like, oh my God, I'm completely crashed. So we've learned over time. I mean, I crash on Friday and I don't have Parkinson's, but I go all day long. So we try to really encourage people that if they can to come in a little bit early, get on a proper sleep schedule if they can, and make sure they're staying hydrated, especially Spain. It'll be hot in July, so extra important to be hydrated. And we work with people leading up to the Congress, so you will be able to see the whole program. In fact, I have almost the whole program sitting here in front of me, ready to go up on the website in the next week or two. So you will be able to look at the program on the website and see, oh my gosh, these are the kinds of sessions I want to see. And you can even plan a schedule ahead of time where you say, okay, on day 1, I know it's going to be super exciting and everyone's going to be talking and we're going to want to socialize and hang out. And Sharon's nodding her head because she knows how this is. You get distracted. So we always encourage people to take the program, review it ahead of time, so you know exactly what's happening each day, and then to circle like 1 or 2 sessions you really want to see. And then the rest of the time, leave your schedule just open, because you are going to meet people in the hallway, you're going to meet people in the renewal room, you're going to meet your buddy. We have a buddies program. Buddies are a really wonderful part of the Congress. I didn't even talk about it. So we do try and, you know, really prepare people ahead of time so they know what they're getting into. And I think part of that, to your question, is to encourage people to come in a couple of days early if they can, and just rest and mentally, not just physically prepare, but mentally prepare, because it is an incredibly fun, uplifting, but exhausting experience to attend.
One other question about logistics. How far is the airport to the hotels that that you will book?
So the airport in Barcelona is, I take a taxi when I go, because I usually have big suitcases, but I have taken the subway. You can take the subway, which is like five euros, I guess, €5. I have to look at the exact price. It's a little complicated if you have suitcases, so I do encourage people to take a taxi. It's around, I think the last time it was around €30 to take a taxi. It's not terribly far away. So if you can travel with 1 or 2 other people and you can split the taxi, it's probably in their best interest to just take the taxi to avoid subways and that extra lengthy sort of subway trip, because you have to change subways from one to another to get there. But the subways, if you're familiar with subways and you're comfortable taking public transportation and you arrive early, that is a great way to get around Barcelona. But from the airport to the hotels and the convention center, I'm recommending when people arrive with their suitcases to just try and share a taxi with someone, just so that you can get there and start resting right away.
A couple comments. Laura Russell asked if the talks are recorded for those who can't be in 2 rooms at the same time.
So we do not record the talks in general. We are looking for sponsorship to record a series of the talks in the main plenary room so that we can release those after the Congress. And we, at this point, do not have sponsorship for that yet, so I can't guarantee that until sponsorship comes in for that. But what I will say is we have a program called our master classes, and we do a couple of things. So it's of course impossible to attend multiple sessions at once. So what I find is there are groups of people like best friends or spouses and partners might look at the program and say, all right, you go to that session, I'm going to go to this session, let's swap notes afterward. So that is one thing a lot of people do at the Congress. We also, because we know how exciting the talks are, at the end of every day, we have is what we call a wrap-up panel session, where we invite leaders, both research, scientific, as well as advocacy leaders to come together. It's a very, very popular session. It's from 5:15 to 6:30 every day. And we invite 5 or 6 leaders to come together. And their assignment during the day is to attend a specific session or sessions, and then come back and report back to the room what they've learned and their key takeaway points. So if you can't go to sessions during the day, but you go to the wrap up at the end, you're going to hear 4 or 5 world leaders saying, okay, I went to session X and these were my 3 key takeaways. I'm really excited about this. And someone else will say, well, I went to session Q and this is what I heard and this is what I'm really excited about. So you can kind of get this really condensed panel discussion for 45 minutes about some of the biggest and most exciting highlights of the Congress. So there's that. And then the last thing that we've added this time, which is pretty fun, it's called our master classes. So let's say Sharon is one of our masterclass teachers. I would assign Sharon a session, and she would go into that session and take notes in that session. And then she would come out of that session and go into our masterclass videotaping room. And for 5 to 6 minutes, she would basically summarize the session she just saw. And she would say, I saw the session on this topic and my 3 key takeaways for X, Y, and Z. This is what I'm really excited about. Those videotapes will be put out during the Congress as well as after the Congress on YouTube. They'll be free on the website. So we don't videotape all the sessions. It's a tremendous Congress. It would be an incredible financial burden on us to do that because it's very expensive to just put the host Congress on itself. But we do try to find ways and opportunities to capture the information so that people who can't be in the room or can't be with us in Barcelona can at least get the highlights from the sessions. I hope that helps.
Okay, Susan, unmute. Unmute.
Thank you. Eli, hi. Do you have a volunteer staff? I mean, like if we want to come and be one of your volunteers, do you have a?
Yes, that is such a great question. Let me share my screen again. So this is the page I was talking about. Apologies. Let me show you again how to get here. If you go onto the Congress website under About, down to About the Congress, you can see the volunteer link that takes you to this page that we're on. And these are the volunteers from Kyoto. This orange button is the actual application. And this gives you all the information you need. And I again would recommend that you, if you're interested, you volunteer, put in your application soon. Once all the spots are filled, we will close this. If you volunteer at the Congress, the volunteer hours begin from basically Sunday through Friday and includes the training on site. And that includes up to 22 hours of work over the course of the week. You do get free registration. So it is a way to cut down on your costs to be there. And we accept everyone and anyone to be a volunteer. So if you have have an interest in wanting to be a volunteer, but let's say you're you use a mobility device, whether it's a walker or a wheelchair, and you say, I just can't stand, we'll put you in a seated position. We are totally accommodating and totally inclusive. If you can volunteer and you're interested, we will find appropriate position for you or your loved one. I find a lot of people who come with a partner or a spouse, a lot of times their spouse might volunteer because they don't feel the need to attend sessions all day. So that's also an opportunity to bring a loved one and cut their costs down for being there. And then I mentioned these people. These are the individuals who will be coordinating the program. If you've been to a Congress before, you might recognize them. They've been active in the past Congress for many years. So thank you for asking that question. We have a really dynamic volunteer program. We take around 150 volunteers, and they really do make the experience quite incredible.
Okay. Angela.
Another one of my quick questions. How crowded do the rooms get? Do you have a problem with overflow? Is there much rushing around to make sure you get a seat?
You know, that's a great question. Well, first of all, there's usually very strict fire code. So once a room gets really full, we would close the doors because of the fire code. But what I will tell you is that we have booked the entire convention center. There is no one else who's going to be in the convention center but us. So our plan is that we will fill the rooms. I don't really anticipate it being a competition to get to seats. My goal, because I know when we work with people with Parkinson's, you can't have things that are too tight. So a lot of times, maybe you've been to a meeting before where they say, oh, this room seats 200 people, and they cram everybody in where the seats are like super tight. So we often ask that space between seats. I will maybe have fewer seats because of heading COVID. And people might need to spread out a little bit. I don't know what next year is going to look like, but I will tell you, in all my years at the Congress, there have only been a handful of rooms that have been so full that we had to close the doors. And this may not surprise you, but the one that was totally full in Montreal was the talk on sex. The room was standing room only. People were on the floor. It was wild. And I was like, this is crazy. And someone said, are you really surprised that the topic on sex is standing room only? And I said, I suppose I shouldn't be that surprised, but I am a little surprised. And then usually the sessions on physical therapy, like falls and balance and exercise, those are usually pretty popular. But we're pretty good at when people register, we ask people ahead of time, which sessions are you most interested in attending? We do not require anyone to stay true to the sessions they pick, because we know that when you get on site, you might completely change your mind. But if we tell you between 1:30 and 3 on Tuesday, these are the sessions you can choose from, which one are you most interested in? A lot of times people pick probably the one they're going to go to. So when we put a session in a room, the sessions that really were the most popular when people registered, we position them in those rooms. Sometimes people change their minds. Sometimes we get it wrong, but for the most part, we've been pretty successful at making sure the doors don't ever have to be closed.
Excellent, thank you.
Let me ask a couple questions. First of all, how many of you are interested in going? Raise your hand. You just physically raise your hand if you want. Great. And we will most likely have some kind of meet and greet for our group. And I know that there are some women in Parkinson's sessions that are scheduled. Do you want to talk about that, Eli?
Yeah, we're trying. I mean, thanks to work by people like Sharon, as well as the Women in Parkinson's Project, as well as Conde Parkinson, the women's group out of Spain. We know there's a huge interest in women in Parkinson's, whether it's around medication management, research, treatment options, all sorts of things that are rising and bubbling up to the top, thanks to incredible groups of women who are advocating for more awareness around how Parkinson's impacts them differently than it does men. And so for the first time ever, we are looking actually for sponsors to come in and sponsor what we're calling as our entire Women of Parkinson's curriculum. So there might even be some things that happen before the Congress, like the day before the Congress, where we bring women together to do a forum on topic around women in Parkinson's and gather women. There will also be roundtables every day, roundtable discussions about women and women's issues and things women would like to talk about. And we're also, though it's not funded yet, I'm hoping to get funding for a 3-part webinar series leading up to the Congress to specific issues that are relevant to women. So these are still, in my mind, still things I need to get funding for, but I'm pretty confident you're losing me. I'm pretty confident that we'll get funding for these. And as we start to, you can't hear me, Sharon?
No, now we can hear you. Maybe it's my computer.
Okay, okay, sorry, I'll try to move less. So yeah, I see Clara Kluge, you wrote, excellent, Women's Day. Yes, I'd like to have a Women's Day at the WPC, but it's pending funding. So I'm pretty confident we're gonna get somebody to come in and support it. So stay tuned for more on that. And if we do, I'll certainly let Sharon know so she can share it with everyone so you can add it to your calendars.
Great. Let's see, there were, our care partners the same $400 registration fee?
So they are the same. I know that can be a lot, but I will just explain a little bit about the registration. For us to have a person attend the Congress costs us about $700. So we're subsidizing the costs for people with Parkinson's, and we're subsidizing the cost for care partners. We charge doctors more. They pay anywhere between $600 and $800. So they're helping to sort of subsidize the cost. But we, for reasons, financial reasons, incredibly expensive, unfortunately, but it's the reality to have a big Congress like this at the exhibit at the conference center, and to be able to serve meals and coffee and everything. It is costly. So we do charge $400 a person. Again, we offer the travel grants for people with Parkinson's, and we do offer an opportunity to volunteer if someone wishes to waive that registration fee.
Okay, great. And also, interest in the buddy program. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, very excited about that. Thank you. Let me just find it on my website. 1 second, so I remember where I put the buddies program and the page. 1 second. There we go. Buddies program. All right. So this buddies program, I'll give you a little background. It started at our Congress in Montreal. This may or may not surprise you. Under our registration, we have the Buddies program. This is a Buddies program page. We will open applications to apply for a buddy in October when registration opens. The only people who can apply for a buddy are either people with Parkinson's or care partners or a couple. We do our best to match people with someone who we think is an appropriate match. This is not a dating opportunity. I know sometimes people are like, can I find a date? I'm like, it's not for dating. This is for a buddy who's also attending the Congress, so that if you're going to the Congress, you can talk to someone and kind of find a new friend before you even get there. There's a lot of details on here about what the program is, how it works, who can apply, how to apply. And these are our buddies coordinators. You might recognize some of their faces. Sri is based in the San Francisco area. Dan and Michelle, a couple based in Portland, Oregon. And we actually have another person named Claudia Danker, who is Spanish speaking, who's going to be working on the Spanish application. We'll add her shortly. I will just briefly explain this. It is only open to people who are registering for the Congress. If you're not attending the Congress, you cannot be a part of this Buddies program. We would recommend you apply to a different Buddies program, perhaps through the Michael J. Fox Foundation or another organization. The idea behind the Buddies program is that a lot of times people who have never attended a scientific Congress or never attended the WPC, there's anxiety. They don't want to go to this big conference. They don't know anyone, or they don't know what to expect or how it's going to work. So we try to connect people ahead of time so that you can find a buddy that is similar to yourself. And then you can meet them there and have this newfound friend, at the Congress. The application to be a buddy, it's pretty detailed. We ask you a lot of questions, how you identify when you were diagnosed, if you're a care partner. Oh, I have heard, and I continue to hear from people that the Buddies program was hugely impactful to them, and they still talk to their buddies regularly. So it can potentially be a friend for life. So it's a really wonderful opportunity. And again, we offer that for free. It's just for people who have paid to register for the Congress can apply to also have a buddy.
Okay, great. All right. I think right now we're going to do a wrap up, and then
Sharon, can I just do one more thing? I just want to let everyone know about our Tulip project.
Oh, right.
So the Tulip project, so that everyone is aware, can see my screen. Let's see here. So this is on our website. This is on the worldpdcoalition.org website. And if you go under our work, we have something called the Parkinson's Tulip Project. And the Tulip Project, this page is in both English and Spanish. You can submit a picture of yourself. You can see some pictures here on the front, pictures of people with tulips. And it does not have to be a real tulip. It could be a painted tulip like this image. It could be an origami tulip. It could be a wooden tulip. It could be any kind of tulip. And the idea is that we will take all of these images and we will create a tulip garden in Barcelona. And people who submit images to the Tulip Project, you can submit it right on the website. If you scroll down to the bottom, you can submit the image through here. Sorry, there's the button at the bottom. It says submit your photo here. You can submit your photo. And the reason I'm telling you all about this is that we are having raffles almost every month now with prizes. If you submit a picture of yourself with a tulip, you can submit up to 5 pictures. Every picture you submit is a raffle ticket. Every month or every 5 to 6 weeks, we will pull names out of the raffle. We are doing our first raffle drawing on Tuesday this coming week at noon Eastern time, so 9 a.m. for all of you. And the deadline to submit a picture is tonight at midnight. So if you want to enter the raffle, you can take a picture of yourself today with any kind of tulip and submit it. And we're doing the raffle drawing on Tuesday. We're giving away 3 prizes. One is our Parky the raccoon, which is our mascot stuffed animal, and we do a fundraiser with Parky. We're also giving away free registration to attend the Congress, which, as you know, is $400. So that would be a wonderful free prize. And the third prize is a travel grant worth up to $2,000. That will help cover your hotel, your travel, and your registration. So if you're really interested in going, and in the back of your mind, you're thinking about funding and how that might be a challenge, this is an awesome opportunity. Today, tonight at midnight Eastern time is the deadline to submit an image. You can go right on the website, submit 5 images. You'll get 5 raffle tickets. We're going to do a Facebook Live video on Tuesday at noon, and I'm going to pull the 3 names. It might be you, and even if you don't get pulled this Tuesday, maybe at the next Facebook Live, your name might be pulled on that one. So I encourage you to submit pictures into the Tulip Project. One, because it's super fun. We'll get your image out into the community, and also your image then will go into the Tulip Garden, which will be part of this beautiful Antonin Gaudi-like exhibit of a wall with tulips and pictures, and it will really bring the community together. It'll be a nice space in the exhibit hall as part of our art walk. So thanks for that, Sharon. I wanted to make sure I shared that because the deadline is tonight, and I thought some people on this call might really like to get their name into the raffle for some of these great prizes.
Great. Okay, so let's, Ashlyn, do you want to bring up the next slide? So we're giving you a virtual tiara, mostly because I can't give you this in person. I got my own, so thank you. We always like to give our speakers a tiara. As we said, we're going to have scholarships for the World Parkinson's Congress, first-time attendees only. It covers registration. Right now we have Laura Russell, Ethel Meyer, and Carol Klepney on the team who will be developing the applications and looking them over, and they will be available when registration opens. And I don't know why it says donate to funds here. But there will be some things that you will be asked you to commit to, and that will be on the application. Okay, next slide. So our next meeting is in 2 weeks, and we're doing improv with the Tightrope Troupe. And Clara Kluge is part of that group. Thank you, Clara, for getting that for us. And we're going to be having a lot of fun. So it'll be your chance to try improv. September 18th, everything's gotten moved around. I got confirmation this morning that actually I think I have a speaker for September 11th, where we will be doing creative writing and maybe incorporating a memorial to 9/11. And October 2nd is going to be very interesting. A young woman who is a researcher on women in PD will be speaking to us, Shilpa Rao, and she is doing surveys. She's doing a lot of research on women in PD, and she's actually going to be doing some research with us that day. So it should be very, very interesting. And then Amy Lindbergh and Donna Boyd, who came on that wonderful day where we all melted down. We have rescheduled to October, and we still don't have we have to talk to Amy about the dates, but we will let you know when that is happening. And Tuesday mornings, as always, we have Shelley Savoy hosting her group at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Anybody is welcome to join. And then next one. Today we had our 3rd meeting, and if you're for Twitchies Without Partners, if you're interested in joining this group, let me know, and we will add your name to the email list. And next, I think that's it. Oh, the PMD Alliance Community and Support Group Leaders Summit. I cannot attend. I know that I've heard that a number of our women are planning to attend, and that is in Washington, D.C. in October. And it's really the first chance everybody's gotten to get together again since the pandemic started. It's only $200. They've extended the registration. I don't know what the deadline is now, but for the $200, you get 3 nights hotel and 3 meals a day. Wow. So if you can go, I think it will be wonderful. Next one, and I think that's it. So we will stop recording here. I want to thank everybody for joining us today.